Mama told me don't wait on miracles. Don't give them reason to come for your soul. Don't beg for nobody, nobody can get you at all. You know you got it if you want it all. Mama told me don't wait on miracles. Don't.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing? This is our review of people that's been on Deaf Taught Us How to Live, and I have my first and very good friend of mine. My first interview, Minda Parker. I'm so sorry, Minda Parker, and she is a AVM survivor. She had it, I believe it was in her cerebellum in, was it February 15th of 2020? Am I right with that?
February 17th, because it was my mom's birthday. So yeah, 2000.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They thought it was a prank when the doctors called her to let her know that I was in the hospital, but it wasn't a prank. But I'm that much of a jokester, so she thought I was really pulling a good one.
I don't remember you telling me that at first, but you might have. I don't remember. But this is your mom's birthday. Your mom's celebrating her birthday, and all of a sudden she's have her baby in the hospital. How was that for her? Did she actually explain that to you?
It was kind of a blur, I think, for everybody. But she was just kind of like she told me, like, when they called her, the doctors from the hospital called her, and from the emergency room. It's the first hospital I went to because I got transported to another one later. But they called her and she was like, she thought it was a joke. She's like, my kid is like, she just knew I was pranking her. That's how much we joke around and we play around. Right. And so then she realized, oh wait, this isn't a joke. And she's like, let me get over to the hospital. And then she found out like all the details.
Wow, that is absolutely crazy. But while you was talking, I saw something that threw me off. I'm not sure what's going on. Something on your hand. Is something different about you now? Yes. What is that?
Yes, that's
that?
different. That's my crown jewel here.
You got married.
I got married. Yeah, I got married on Veterans Day of I can say last year now. Yeah. Thank you.
Sister. So you're not Parker anymore. What's your last name now?
I am Mrs. Thurman.
Wow. Oh my gosh. See, everybody out there, you don't understand, like as a AVM survivor, is all this stuff that we go through and all these things that we think about, are we worthy? Anybody gonna love us? And you're a proud example of actually someone can love you, somebody can understand you and still be that person for you, and you can still be yourself. So you want to talk about that?
I kind of have a little bit of an advantage because it's actually my best friend. We've been friends for a really long time, probably over a decade. But he was there when it happened. A lot of people, like you and I both know, if you're by yourself, the odds are not in your favor. So unless you're able to call somebody or you're in a room with somebody to let them know what's going on with you, they have no way of knowing. But he was actually with me when it happened.
When we did our first interview on January 15th of last year, you kept on saying, I was at my friend's house. I was going to ask you, was that your boyfriend or anything? But I didn't want to pry. But now you said it, so I'm good.
Yeah, we've been best friends for a long time. So the fact that it all just kind of like worked out the way that it did, I'm like grateful, super grateful. So
I have so many questions with that. And I'm not sure if you want to dive into it, but I'm going to ask. And if you don't want to, just say, Greg, I can't deal with that.
Okay.
How did he take what happened to your transition? Now, obviously you changed. How was it for him? And was it an easy transition for him? Or I guess, because I see that you are very into your spirituality, into Christianity, was that more of the I guess the lubricant to make sure that you guys move forward, or was you guys as good as it is?
I definitely feel that our faith completely played a role in, our relationship growing to be what it is. I think we just kind of go through life kind of on our own terms and we kind of just want to do our own thing. And everybody's kind of like, it's a me society. And, when you're looking for, and I won't say looking for, but if you're hoping for a relationship, you gotta be selfless, you know, and I think, and you have to have kind of an attitude to serve. And the fact that like, even before we got married, like he was there, he was at the hospital. He made sure, like, he checked on me, he checked on the kids, like, just, he was there from the beginning. Actually, my daughter, my stepdaughter, she actually was with us as well when that happened. So she played a huge role of just being there for me, being there for her dad as well. So it wasn't like a hard thing for us to kind of mesh in as far as like on a family level. But I definitely will say that our faith and belief in God definitely is what kind of fused it all together. We just kind of made a plan that, you know, we wouldn't still be here without him, without his grace. So let's let him take the show from here on out, let him run the show. And he has in so many ways. So.
Like, let's talk about that. You know, I understand that you have a great faith, because every time I see your Instagram post, it's always talking about scriptures or some gospel music or anything about God. Really appreciate that. But let's talk about how God has moved you forward within your life. Because I know last year when I was talking to you, you started up a company called God Is My Glow Up. And I see you have that shirt on right now. But what actually has transpired after that? You know, after you have built up the corporation, what's going on right now with you?
Well, I am currently in school. So after a lot of happened, that experience, I really wanted to help other people. And I kind of was just kind of like floundering in like, how can I really help anybody in my condition? Because I still have like, what's the word? Deficits, I guess, in certain areas where it comes to like my memory and being able to kind of like function physically. You know, like a lot of people say you can look, like I can look at you right now, I'm like, you're fine, you're okay. But
Right.
We know the things that we still struggle with and the things that are like remnants of what we went through. Yeah. So the memory thing was a big deal. So for me, I was kind of hesitant to jump back out there, but I decided to, I wanted to kind of jump into the medical field. And so I actually was working at a hospital. For a few months, I got some experience, much needed experience, because I've always kind of been interested in that field. I never really felt like I could go to be a doctor because it's just a lot of school, but I wanted to be in a helpful position. And so I actually ended up taking a lot of courses related to like, and getting a lot of like nursing certifications. I'm not like a certified nurse, but I took courses that would count towards a nursing certification with the same hospital chain that saved my life. So really? The same hospital, yeah. And so I actually was able to go to, it was the same link of hospitals, but a different hospital. I was able to go and actually work there for some time. And in like administrative role. And I learned a lot. I got to work for a nurse manager. I got to work with patients that actually, here's the kicker. Here's the part you're going to find really interesting.
Okay.
I was hired to work as an admin in a med surg unit. So basically the people that take care of everyone who's having surgeries, major surgeries. So the fact that I was able to kind of be there and be a person, I mean, I even met some veteran patients that you know, I was able to kind of advocate for a little bit, you know, so that they were able to get what kind of like the help they needed and the care they needed so that they could, you know, go home when it was time for them to go home. But it was just such an enlightening experience. And the people that I worked with, the nurses, the nurse manager, everyone that I worked with was just so amazing. It was such an amazing staff and team of people, and they actually wanted to be there. They want to help people. That was their goal. Like outside of the job, they wanted to help people, and I could relate to that. So that was like, well, how else can I kind of help out a little bit? And I know, you know, you and I both know of a lot of these wonderful foundations and organizations that help brain aneurysm survivors, AVM survivors, and just for prevention and awareness. And I'm like, I can go to school for this. You know, I've already been in school. So I actually had, my major was health information management. And I was like, I'm kind of not really wanting to deal too much with records. I kind of still want to deal with people and helping people and prevention of diseases. So in my bachelor's for public health that I'm going to school for now, I'm in my last year. So I'm like trying to finish, but that, you learn epidemiology, you learn a lot of things about just health sciences that are helpful when you're advocating for, you know, prevention and disease prevention and things like that. And right now I'm actually writing like 2 papers on strokes. So it's all tying, yeah, it's all tying together.
So Minda, I'm looking at this, and I know the last time we spoke is about a year ago doing this interview, and I have learned so much by doing these interviews. So I'm thinking that you probably learned so much by being in the medical field and seeing all these different things happening to people, and you get a better understanding of that. You know, can you speak on that a little bit more about how just being in your, I guess, in your purpose is actually giving you better understanding of your rehab and understanding of yourself? Is that actually something?
Yeah, I'm glad you actually mentioned that, talking about purpose. And I was like, I don't want to hold you up too long, but I was like, I definitely wanted to share this with you because that actually was kind of where I was kind of going with it. But there's a pastor, Pastor Jerry Flowers, who is pretty well known on YouTube. But he gave 3 reasons why we don't know our purpose. And he said, number 1, we're so occupied with doing things that have nothing to do with why we're here, and we're exhausted from it. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been exhausted trying to spin the wheel of what am I supposed to do? Like, that's a big thing, especially after you've had an event like we've had happen to us. You're like, what is my purpose? If I'm going to be here and I'm going to be this, you know, subversion of myself, then what's the point? I used to be able to do this. Right. Now I can only do this. What's even my purpose? It said we haven't considered, what does God want us to do? What are we ultimately put here, purpose for divinely? And also we spend so much time doing second things first, you know, which I thought was really interesting. That can mean a lot of different things to different people, but ultimately the point was that it was saying that, you know, God needs us to be effective in our assignments, and we have to stop allowing other people to assign us to these roles in life. So if there's something you're gifted at, if you see a problem and you can't get away from the fact that this is a problem and it needs to be fixed, that might be an area. You know, we all have like natural gifts and talents. Some people can sing, some people can dance, some people can, you know, are just brainiacs, super smart. But ultimately, if you see a problem and it really hits home with you, then that might be part of your purpose. You might need to look into a little bit deeper of, how can I help in this area? How can I be of service to other people in this area? You might not even like people, you know, some people just can't deal with people, but, you know, I think that's one thing that I've taken away from it. And just in learning the medical field, like, we need people, like people in this field, you have to want to be there. So, you know, because we all seen like people leaving that field because of like pay issues and a bunch of other things. Like I've had people that have gone to being like travel nurses because the pay is better considering the hours and the number of patients. That's one thing I could not get my head off of, is the number of patients assigned to nurses in a certain time period for like 8, 10 hours, 12 hours, like it's insane. And I feel bad because I'm like, when you don't have enough of the certifications, you can't really help like in certain areas. Like I got certified to where I could be like kind of like a helper with patients, to like move patients or turn them over or help them walk, that sort of thing. But there were certain things that I just couldn't do because I hadn't been certified just yet. So that's one thing I did learn about in the medical field. It's not just like you get in, you get hired, and that's that, and they just let you go do. No, you have to go through a lot of training, you know, days and hours of training.
So I'm talking with you now, and you're very different than when I talked to you last time. You know, I see that you have your purpose, and that purpose has done something for you. Has it helped you with your rehab and getting you more focused? Because I see something different about you. Am I
Yeah.
far-fetched with that, or is it spot on?
I mean, no, it's you've been spot on. Yeah, just, I think when you find your purpose and you know your reason for being here, and I'm not gonna lie, like I don't want to sit up here and act like I have it all together because I don't. And here's one example. I actually wrote down some things that I didn't want to forget to talk about because I knew my short-term memory is still super affected. So someone can tell me something, and if I don't write it down, it's here and gone. Like my long-term memory is fine. I can remember people, I can remember driving directions from years ago. But right now, if I'm talking to you and you ask me a question or you tell me something and you're like, repeat that in 4 minutes. Couldn't tell you unless I wrote it down. But the things that I know have changed and have really been affected by knowing my purpose. Like I was in a state of depression, after all of that happened, just feeling really useless. And there's no real words to explain it unless you've been there. And it's something that you tell people all the time. You're like, unless you've been here, you just don't know. And you don't want to be, you don't want to put people off. You don't want to stop them from helping you. But in a sense, you're like, I'm in this space and I just kind of leave me alone in a sense. The anxieties that come with it, those don't just, magically go away. I pray a lot more now. I used to kind of look at praying like, but what actually got me was my kids would like start praying for stuff, and not like just for stuff they wanted, but they would like pray. Like when my mom hurt her arm, they would pray for her arm to get healed. And my mom's arm got healed. Like it was things like that, well, the only one I had a problem with was they prayed for snow and we got snow. And I was like, can we not again? And they were like, yeah, mom, we're done with snow too. We want the sun. We're going to go outside and play. But the anxieties, like driving anxieties that I have, I don't drive at night on purpose. I mean, I do sometimes, but I don't feel 100% comfortable. And then, and just being in crowded spaces, I feel like it's sensory overload. When I'm in like a crowded grocery store or a crowded like shopping center or anything like that, where I feel like it's too many people and too much going on and I can't process it, I'll be like, I'm out. I've done a lot of online shopping.
Let me ask you before you go any further with that. How do you deal with that? Because I'm not sure, because it looks like you're a tall woman. Are you about 5'9", 5'10"?
I'm 5'9".
So you're 5'9". I'm 6'4". And I had that same problem too in being in large crowds, but I stand out and everybody always gravitates to me. Now, how do you actually get around that?
I think I just kind of learned to like I'll breathe and I'll pause kind of in the moment. Or if I need to step outside, hopefully I'm not like in the middle of like getting groceries and I like walk out with the groceries, but like, I just try to like give myself those moments. I'm allowed to stop. I'm allowed to just take a minute and breathe. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't process this. I walk away. I've had to do with family members, and be like, hey, it's too much. Give me like a few minutes. Like I got to process everything that's happening right now. And I think just being like, some people don't feel comfortable being that transparent, but I'm a very blunt person. So I will be like, hey,
stop.
You like, my brain can't do it right now. And most people that know me and know what I've been through, they all understand that for the most part, but it takes a while sometimes, and it gets to be a lot, which is the other part of it, where it's like the therapy. Like I initially had like done therapy after this happened, and then I kind of took a break, and I'm back in therapy now because I'm like, I need a tune up. Like life is coming at me fast. I got 50 million things to do. I've got school, I got kids, I got all this stuff going on. And I'm like, I can't process it. It's too much. So I've had to seek help there as well. I have absolutely no shame in it. And then the survivor's guilt, that hits me every once in a while. especially when I see stories of, you know, people, mainly children, that have passed away from this horrible disease. Like this, just, it's terrible to see it. And then makes you wonder, goes back to that purpose thing. Well, look, why am I still here? What am I supposed to be doing since they didn't get a chance to come here and do it, you know, or stay here and do it? So it's just a lot of things kind of connected, but it's a growing process. And I think I'm just here for the ride at this point. I don't think I have a choice now. I think I'm alive for a reason. I mean, I've been through quite a few things like since then. Was diagnosed with asthma, you know, just a lot of things just happened afterwards. And it was just crazy for a while, but I'm still here. So I'm supposed to be here doing what I'm doing. So
you know what, Minda, I looked at you, and once you got on the camera, I'm like, wow, this woman is glowing. I can see something that's different about this woman, and she's radiated. So I'm really very curious about this transition of yours. And I hear what you're saying, and I want to dig a little bit deeper in this, because there's something that you have done. You know, you said you started really feverish in praying and understanding what their prayer was all about before you wasn't that way. And now you very diehard and you really believe in it. Like you said, your children prayed for your mom's arm to get better, and did. You know, what can you say to those people that are in that dark place and they're trying to get out and they don't believe they can get out? Something you have done that transitioned you from that dark place. Not saying that you're completely out of it, but that dark place is not 100% of your time anymore. What did you do to actually say, I know I have to do this, it's time to go? What was that?
I think it was a combination of stepping outside of myself, which was part of it was working at the hospital and seeing people in way worse situations than I would, that I am now, I would say, because at the time I know what it's like to be really low. Yeah. But also, I've done a lot of Bible plans. I'm a YouVersion influencer. I don't know if people have heard of it, but it's basically like people heard of the Bible app. And the Bible app, it has been like heavily helpful for me because it puts the Bible and it puts that faith, it puts it in language that I can comprehend and in topics that we all deal with as human beings. So when people talk about God, they think like, which he is way up here, but at the same time, he came down to us to meet us on our level. And that's whatever level we're at. I love watching some of the reenactments of people that talk about, Christian faith or, or spirituality part of it. But the thing that I just realized is that, God is love. And I know a lot of times people don't feel like God loves them because of what they're going through. But I think when you step outside of yourself, because it's really easy to focus on what's wrong with my life. And I think what it took for me, this shook my world up. I don't know about you, can't speak for you, but this shook my world up. And it made me feel like, I felt like I was so selfish for such a long time. I was really selfish. I was, everything was about me. It was about what I wanted. It's about my life. It was about my goals, which is fine to have that. Like, it's great to be ambitious and it's great to have goals. But if life is all about you, like, how fun is that? You know what I mean? Why, it just kind of like doesn't make sense. And it's like, so we're to realize we're here for a purpose, and whatever you find yourself really good at, or even if it's just talking to people, making them feel better, for you, doing the podcast that you do has been instrumental in helping people all over that now can actually hear it from you. Somebody in a different part of the world can hear their story and relate to you just based on what you're doing. Right. And you might feel like it's only this part of my time or whatever it is, or you might feel like I spend a lot of time doing this and it's not really a lot that I gain from it. But I know for me, I know it's a wonderful feeling to help people. It's a wonderful feeling to be there for people who don't feel like other people understand them and other people won't listen to them. And that's what I think, you know, we're here for. We're here to help other people.
You gave me two interesting things when you gave me that spiel. One thing was you stopped fighting the powers that be. You understand that you're not in control. You know that God is here with you. And you said before you were selfish. You know, I'm very keen to understanding that, because I was the same way. And I understood after I had my stroke, and I used to be a preacher, but I don't preach anymore. I'm not really into religion anymore. But now I understand the Bible verses way more because of what happened to me than I did before it happened to me. Case in point, like, you know, you have to be like little children. You got to be like babes to be able to enter the kingdom of God. How do you do that? I never knew that. But now, once I had this struggle, I'm like, oh, I really got to get rid of all this other stuff that I grew up with, that I have these traumas and things like that. I got to let those go and trust God. And that's it, period. So once I did that, it was easier for me to step out of my woe is me mode and actually live in my purpose. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And the other thing I'm hearing from you is that we, as people or Christians, whoever we are, we don't really believe what we believe until we're faced with it. And then once we're faced with it, I'm like, oh, now I get it. Like I tell my mother all the time, she's a devout Christian. I'm not trying to knock her or anything like that, but she will say something to me, then I will ask her, why are you worried about that? Don't you believe in God? And she's like, oh, yeah,
we're still human. So
yeah, you're still human. I get that, but like, that's what it triggers them. Like, yo, God saved me from all this stuff that happened to me. I was on a lonely road in Kentucky and I had nobody. And I was there at the right place at the right time, got a neurosurgeon that could help me out. Then when I got back to Atlanta, I had the best neurosurgeon to do my craniotomy. All this lined up, and I had nothing to plan up for this at all. And when she heard that, she's like, wow, you're right. Why am I fighting? God is with me. God is protecting me. And that clicks in. But a lot of times people don't see that. So I'm hearing from you that you saw that, you understand that, and that's how you live it in your purpose. That's why you see, like you have your shirt, God is my glow up. It's really making more sense to me now, because he is really your glow, because you understand that I'm not doing any of this. I'm married. Go ahead.
Let me throw this out here for you real quick.
Yeah.
It was a part of my story that I wasn't really able to kind of express before. And I kind of was like, I didn't really want to say anything because I felt like people weren't going to understand what I was saying, or they were going to be like, she's weird or whatever. But it sparked this part of me that's like, I don't care who knows that I'm a Christian or that I believe in God. I don't care, because you weren't with me at my lowest. It's like, you weren't with me shooting in the gym. You weren't with me at my lowest, and you don't know what I experienced. And what I experienced during that period when this happened was, it went to blackness. When I was out, I don't know how long I was out in the first part of my unconsciousness, but it was black, dark, okay? And there was no sound, there was nothing, but it was like, and I told people this is like, it's a little triggering. I feel like God allowed me to see what hell looked like.
Oh man, I get that.
And once you've been there, you don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And you feel like you grew up, especially me. I grew up, you know, in church. My mom had me in church, but it was like, that's my mom's faith. And I'm just kind of going along for the ride. And yeah, sure. But it was because nobody really broke things down for us as children. It was there's still a lot of religious kind of like, you know, energy to it. It was very like, it wasn't explained to us biblical principles and things in plain English. So there's a lot of thous and shalls and all that. That's why I read in the CEV version, because I can understand exactly what's being said when I read the CEV version. Mm-hmm. But overall, I went to a place that was black. It was dark. And I know there was nobody who could hear me. It wasn't a situation where I could go, you know, grab somebody and say, hey, you know, help me or what. It was the moment that I felt like death was all around me. And
Hold on. 'Cause you're bringing me somewhere, and I want to bring that point up because you're saying something very interesting. You're saying that you was about to die, you was in a dark place, but earlier you were saying that you was with your stepdaughter and your now husband, and they couldn't even help you because there's nothing that could be done. And people don't understand that, like, you're completely alone. You're about to die, and you could be surrounded by 1,000 people. Nothing can be done unless God brings you back. So continue, please.
exactly. And it's crazy because I feel like I've watched other people's like experiences, you know, people have had like near-death experiences and things like that. And I feel like my experience wasn't like any of theirs. There were people that saw like angels and saw light and all this beautiful stuff. And I feel like people really do experience that. But for me, it was not. But I know at that point in my life, I was living life for myself. I was even being a mom and feeling like I give up so much for my kids and I do this and I do that. I was living life for myself. I was so selfish, you know, the way that I was handling certain situations, the way I felt like kind of like the world owes me something, you know, or I worked really hard to get up this ladder. I worked really hard to do this or do that and trying to prove your worth to people and all of that. It was a waste of time and a waste of energy. It had nothing to do with my purpose. That's why it was a waste of my time. That's why I ended up being exhausted and being tired and all of that. It had nothing to do with my purpose. I was in the wrong lane. And this whole situation shifted the trajectory of my purpose and my lane where I was going. So that Black place, though, I'll tell you, it scared me. It scared me senseless. It's a place that even now when I think about it, I'm like, I don't want to go back because that was death. Like I was in the room with death. It was done. Right. And then it was like, I remembered seeing a little bit of light from, I think I was still in the ER when this happened though. But I remember seeing a little bit of light from the lamps that are like over the beds, you know, but I didn't make any, nothing was clear. It was just like a blurry picture of a lamp, like the light from the lamp. But after that, I was out again. I was completely like out, well, until all my procedures and everything were like going forward from there. So
I got something else what you just told me. And I'm not sure if anybody picked it up or not, but you're basically saying in order for you to live in your purpose, and I think that was that, you know, that third thing you was talking about, not doing your secondary thing, do the first thing that you're supposed to do your purpose correctly. You don't have secrets anymore, do you?
No, not that I can think of. No, yeah. I think I'm a pretty open book and I'm pretty willing to talk about a lot. Like I've, you know, spoken to my husband about things and, you know, I've talked to friends. I have apologized to people. I think that's
hold on. Before you go down that path, I'm trying to get you somewhere. So
okay.
You don't have secrets anymore, but once you have done that, what did that do for you inside? It set you free, huh?
Absolutely. Set you free. Free as a bird.
The truth shall set you free.
Say what?
The truth shall set you free.
Exactly.
And people don't understand it. That's what I was really trying to drive you to, because a lot of times you was talking about it before, you was being selfish. You had a lot of things, you was exhausted. All that stuff you was keeping within yourself that you had to do it. Like you was a single mother and you have 2 children, you had to take care of them. So you had all that burden and pressure on you. And you probably didn't want to complain to other people. I don't know what your life was, but you kept everything inside. But now it's like, God is here. God knows everything about me already. So why do I keep this inside? Why am I holding this anger, this guilt within me? I'm letting it loose. And if you don't like it, so what? I'm gonna live my life.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because that was a big part of it too. I had to start forgiving people. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of people that probably don't want to hear this, but nope. I had to start forgiving people who had done me wrong, like all the way wrong. And never have I gotten an apology. Now, there are actually some people that actually I've spoken to that I've either apologized to myself or they've apologized to me for certain things that have happened. But when I started going down the list of people, because I had lots of time, you know, when you're recovering, you got a lot of time to sit with yourself and by yourself. So during that period, and even continued since then, you know, I really had to like ask myself, like, okay, where are the areas I really still need to work on? Because I'm not perfect. I'm not going to have everything together. I still have my days. I still get stressed out. But letting a lot of that heaviness of unforgiveness, and it's not just about being the bigger person. It's about freeing yourself, because when you do that, you're just like, this is no longer my weight. You might still feel away, or this person might still be in that space, or they might still be doing what they're doing to other people, but has nothing to do with you at this point. So now you're like, I can live my life now. I'm free, you know?
And that's the concept that people don't really understand. And I think for you and also for me, once I realized that, I realized how much I'm not in control of anything that's going on in my life. I'm not in control that I wake up in the morning. I'm not in control when I go to sleep. You know, all this stuff is what God has done for me. I get that, but people really don't think about that God is in control of all these things and all these secrets that we holding inside and all these things that we want to, people have done us wrong and say we can't forgive them. We're not forgiving them. We've forgiven ourselves. And once we forgive ourselves,
that's another part.
We live.
Forgiving yourself too. That is so, I think it's harder to forgive ourselves than it is to forgive other people. Like, we can kind of rationalize forgiving somebody, or, you know, just kind of get over it or move along. But forgiving yourself is really, really hard, especially when you know you've made some really stupid mistakes, which I have. So
we all
I'll raise my hand. I'll raise my hand first.
You said we're human. That's what happens. That's what we have to learn. We have to learn that we're human. We're not perfect. You know, a lot of times I had this issue with me. I'm like, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to do that. Man, I'm upset with myself. But I forgot when I was living before I had my stroke, it took me a long time to do whatever that was. It took me a long time to understand how to get that to be perfect. And I'm not giving myself any slack because I am so depressed and so mad at myself that this happened to me, not realizing all the stuff that I did learn. Like, for instance, you talking about, hey, you working in a hospital now, and you have all this experience of dealing with patients in the medical surgery type of or major surgeries type of environment. You get it now. Before, you probably was like, they'll go home next week, whatever. But now you understand their mental state and what they're going through and how they're going through it. So we're at our time. I want you to close out because you have so much great things that you're doing for being an advocate of our AVM society. So I'm gonna allow you to actually talk about that and anything else you want to talk about that you have within your roster or your arsenal. Please close us out.
Yeah, so the only thing that I really want to kind of, as you guys know, godismyglowup.com is still up and running. There's some cool shirts and stuff that are still available. Those proceeds, though, I have now switched it over to donating to like homeless shelters. So I've actually taken my kids to a few of them, and I wanted them to kind of see how people that live, you know, in those situations. And I've had family members that have been homeless. So the funds from that are strictly going straight over to making like homeless care kits. And also I just continue to pray for me as I get through the rest of this degree. I'm really trying hard to get through this degree. So it's challenging because I'm doing a lot of other things in the process. More to come on that. I'll update you when the time comes. Really, I just want to encourage people to encourage people. If you see somebody that's down, it doesn't always necessarily mean you have to have a full-blown conversation with them. Just be there for them. And if they feel like they want to talk, talk to them. My friends who know me, I'm gonna shoot you probably a Bible plan or a verse or something that may uplift you. But I'm never gonna preach at you. But I just always want people to feel like and to know they're loved. If you're still here, you're still breathing, you still have a purpose. So if you don't feel like you know what that purpose is, find out what you're passionate about and what ultimately God put into your heart to do. And it's probably something that you're doing for other people that is so helpful that you don't even know. So yeah. And then also one last thing, Brain Aneurysm Foundation, they're having their advocacy day coming up here on the 23rd, I believe. And we're going to advocate, I'm sorry?
23rd of what?
23rd of March, sorry, March 23rd, like this month. We are advocating to Congress for funds for brain aneurysm research and prevention. So we're going to be putting our voices out there and putting some voices behind, and some action behind the words. So it's a whole group of people, and I am so fortunate that the Brain Aneurysm Foundation exists and that they're working really hard to get the money that we need for people to prevent this from happening, do the research and stop it with, new techniques and things like that.
So I am so blessed to actually have you on here. Like I said, you was my first guest actually on Deaf Taught Us How to Live. And actually you have to be the first guest on the replay to see what we actually are within our lives. I really appreciate you. And you said your last name is Thurman now?
My last name is Thurman now.
So thank you, Mrs. Thurman, for coming on and actually blessing us with all the information that you have with your great spirit and your great knowledge. I really appreciate you, my sister, and hopefully we'll talk again soon in the near future. AVM Super.
Absolutely.
Out.
Thanks, big bro.
All right, sis.
And I cannot breathe. Trapped in a loop. But it does.